2 minutes.
Huh?
2 minutes. Hmm?
1, 2 minutes, you say?
Minutes. Will be 6:30.
Snacks?
No, no snacks. Looking for a pen. My 2-year-old decided to take over my purse, so I don't have a purse anymore. Do you have any questions about the change order?
No, but we do have 2 representatives, 3 representatives from the RDC here.
Yeah, I know one of them. Who are the other? I know Mike.
Dustin,
Oh,
Virginia,
who's
and
Virginia?
Chelsea. Virginia is right here. Virginia, Wade, Virginia,
Hi.
and Chelsea.
Hi.
I was pointing out the members from our RDC and representing the RDC. That's them.
Okay, we're ready.
Ready?
6:30.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, as always, this council asks for strength, courage, and wisdom. Something that I usually don't do, but in this evening, we ask for strength, courage, and wisdom for our entire country. We need to stand together no matter what the circumstances. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Call to order the Tuesday, January 19th meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. If everyone has had a moment to look over the minutes, I need a motion to either amend or approve the minutes as written.
Make a motion we approve the minutes from our January 5th, 2021 meeting as written.
Have a motion to approve?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the our first item under unfinished business is Overton Personal Property Confirmatory Resolution. We heard our declaratory resolution at our last meeting, set this meeting as our public hearing, so we need to open our public hearing and see if there's anyone here from the public that needs to speak either for or against Resolution 5, which is personal property tax abatement for Overton Industries. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to close the meeting. Need a motion to approve Resolution 5, 2021 confirming the ERA area and granting the tax abatement to Overton Industries.
Motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Nope. Go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 5 dash, I'm going to say 21,
There you go.
for Overton Industries.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Next item on the agenda is the Resolution 6, confirmatory resolution, and this is for Creative Foam. This is for real property. We need to open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that wants to speak either for or against the Resolution 6?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'm sorry, we had a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve resolution number 621, declaring the ERA and granting the tax abatement for Creative Foam.
Motion to approve resolution number 621.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That one signed.
Oops, I sent it.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 721. This is for Creative Foam also. This is for personal property. This is the confirmatory resolution, and tonight is the public hearing. We need to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from the public that wants to speak either for or against Resolution number 7, 2021? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. That was Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Now I need a motion to approve Resolution 721, granting the tax abatement for Creative Foam personal property on personal property.
So moved.
Who was that? Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff Shane. Penciled in on the next, as the next item, is something that had got sent in. We thought we would end up putting this until our next meeting. However, it had already been assigned a resolution number. It is Resolution 8. This goes back to when we heard or saw the statement of benefits, the SB1 or that's what I want to say, the statement of benefits for equipment technology.
ET Works.
ET Works. I was going to say Equipment Tech, but ET Works LLC. This is something that we had heard in November of last year, and because it was already an ERA area, we did not have to have a public hearing. The public hearing dates back on this one to March 15th of 2011. So we have some time back to that. since it was held there, all we would have to do is approve Resolution 8, granting the abatement to Equipment Technology, or ET Works. This is the one that we kind of bantered back and forth as far as whether we had to have a public hearing, and since it was already in an ERA area, we did not have to have the public hearing, but we still have to pass the resolution. So it slipped through the cracks a little bit, but we found it.
Was that because of COVID restrictions and
No,
that
this is,
slip, or that we just were trying to figure it out?
I think on this one here, we were just in question on maybe the way that we had done things in the past compared to the way other municipalities had done it. I think on this one here, it wasn't that anyone was wrong or anyone was right. It was just that we're covering to make sure that we have done everything that needed to be done for that. We have already passed it by a vote in November. Greg, you were not here, I'm sorry. But now we just need to pass the resolution. A bit of housekeeping, if you will.
Okay.
Motion to approve or deny Resolution 821.
Motion to approve Resolution 821.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a cheat sheet for internal.
Next item on the agenda is kind of a public reminder. Our clerk treasurer's office is going to kind of send out a reminder on their social media page, on our website, and even in the sewer bills. This is our new sewer rate increase information. This rate was approved last year. If we all remember, in tougher times or the beginning of these tough times, we ended up having to have a public hearing unlike anything we'd ever had. I think we were limited to 10 people at that time? Is that right, Shane? Do you remember?
Yes.
And everything else we did Zoom, and people could log in and ask questions, and it was all at the time it was all well and good because we had done a bond anticipation note on 2 sewer improvement projects, which kicked the can down the road 2 years as far as issuing the bond. That allowed us to put off or delay the increase in the sewer rates until January of this year. I think that was originally passed in April. Matter of fact, it does say it, by Ordinance 5/2020. This is just a reminder that everyone is going to get a new and improved sewer bill that helps us to improve our aging infrastructure. It helps us to create more dependable, more efficient sewer works where we cross the creek in a couple of places. And it also allows us to service an area that prior to that had never been serviced. It's
Which
not-
area is that, Kyle?
Do what?
Which area is that?
This is the increase was to fund 2 projects.
No, the new service area.
The new service area is the 100 acres that the RDC had purchased, and now we have one company going in there. It also, because of the size and the way that the second phase is designed, it would allow us to pick up some of our industrial park that currently isn't serviceable. That's going to bring that sanitary sewer line down south, pick it up at that lift station, bring it back north, and then across to the east side and down. That frees up some limited capacity on the west side of 67 from our industrial park north. We had a issue, you know, and I want to make sure that I make this clear. At the time, it was a very good system and it's worked good for 30 years, but the system under the creek there is a siphon system, and we've had issues with maintaining that as far as keeping it clean. It's a little, it's not as proficient at cleaning itself as other systems. This takes away that siphon system. It's estimated, because we haven't got to the point to bid our phase 2 of it, but it's estimated to be about $4 million worth of infrastructure improvements, upgrades, and rehabilitation. This is the hard part. This is, a lot of people view an increase in their sewer bills as a tax increase. While we are not held to the ILUR, we are IURC. We are held to our own morals and standards, and we've had study after study on this, on what is the minimums that we can do and still pay our bonds, efficiently and effectively run our sewer system, and these are the numbers that we came up with. Again, and I'll boast a little bit about this council, except for you, Greg. We're going to blame you for raising the rates. That comes later on. But we do have our minimums for residential and 5/8 service line going in, to include the first 2,000 gallons of water. That's something that we hadn't done before. That gives the small user a little bit of benefit. The other thing that this council did, and I don't know why we did it. I mean, we really didn't have anyone ask about it, but we gave a pool exemption. Come on, a little bit of humor. We gave a pool exemption on summertime use of water. That's something that the council hadn't done before, and that is part of, or was an amendment to, that ordinance. It's just the fact that we're bringing you a reminder that this did happen, and we're all going to see it in February, and it is a step forward for the town of Mooresville. I would entertain comments from the board. Jeff?
I'm not.
Okay. Shane?
Well, I think I hated to do it from the standpoint, no politician wants to raise sewer rates, but I think it was necessary to do it from the standpoint of repairing old infrastructure, retaining a huge sewer user in Nice Pack, also getting the ability to service new customers in that area. It bypassed Brookmore subdivision, if I remember right, so it keeps industrial waste from flowing through residential subdivision, which I think is always a good thing. It increased capacity for the future, replaced old equipment. So it is, to me, something that was necessary. I think it was the first time in 10 years that sewer rates have been raised. So I walked in, and in my first year voted to do it for a lot of reasons. Towns, it's what towns have to do, put in infrastructure. I mean, it's what we do, and it's probably what we do the best. So I was happy to vote for it. I think we did do the best we could with the pandemic. I remember our town attorney created a way for people to remonstrate without having to be present in the building, although we had it open to the public anyway. But he read all of those emails that he got into the record just as if they were standing here. I thought that was a very innovative way to do it. And quite honestly, I think because it happened during a pandemic, the public probably got more notice, and the story got attention in the media. I know I shared it all over my social media to try to inform people the best I could at the time. And so I'm proud of the way we had to deal with the pandemic. I'm proud of the way we handled it. I think the town attorney really helped us with that. So I think it's a very worthwhile project, to be honest with you, even though it does require a sewer rate hike. Sorry if I talked too long.
No, every point was valid and right on the mark there. I mean, it was a different time. Greg, do you have anything? Of course, you're gonna get blamed for it.
Oh, yeah, probably will. I think it's long overdue. That's what our company does for a living, and we see it in communities all around, infiltration, manholes, they just pour water in. You can't treat all that. You know, you're treating clean water. We're probably in town here, there's some manholes that my dad built back in the 60s, I would say, still in use. You know, it's just, if you're treating clean water, you know, you need to take care of that as much as you can. Take care of that infiltration, because it just costs money. So I think it's long overdue.
Excuse me. One of those necessary evils. Everybody's pretty much already said what I was going to say. We did the best we could during those times to notify the public. They were showed up. They were listened to. I know we went back and forth on a lot of options, but the ultimate notice and the ultimate backlash will come very soon for us. So a lot of people will be understanding and unhappy. I don't know if anybody's going to be real thrilled about it.
Can I say one more thing? I think that the band note, the bond anticipation note, was also an innovative thing in that it allowed us to give the town basically 10 months of notice that this was coming, and that wouldn't normally, I don't think you would normally get near that amount of notice. And it made it so that it was discussed in a public meeting, and the town attorney, I know that I spent quite a bit of time in conversations, and if I remember right, Tom was there for those initial conversations about what could we do to raise sewer rates during a pandemic, but not actually start the charges to occur then, because we had already voted to suspend late fees on the sewer bills at the time because the government center was closed, and those are still suspended. So I mean, I believe they are correct. So we spent a lot of time to try to make it as best we could and give the public as much advance notice as we could. And the bond note really cost us less money than issuing two separate bonds. It was a cheaper way to do it. We didn't have to pay all the fees for two separate bonds.
We sold that bond anticipation note at a very low interest rate, so we can brag about that, but that's going to make a lot of people mad that they're making nothing on their investments.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good timing on that side of it. So that's that part of the agenda, and it's nothing more than a reminder. Next item on the agenda is the certified tax rate from the state. This was another bit of good news, bad news. I don't know how we want to say it, but this was included in your packet. This is the approval from the state of Indiana on our taxes. Bottom line, if we go out to page 3 of, it's like a 45, but I know we don't even get 45. I think this has everybody. If you go out to page 3 of 45, it's going to tell you that if you look at the taxing entity or taxing district of 005, which is Mooresville Corporation, We saw a jump in the tax rate, and this is for everybody. This is for anyone that we pay when we, the citizens of Mooresville, pay our taxes. This is everyone in that group. That would be the town of Mooresville, that would be our park, that would be our library, our school system, anyone that actually gets a small piece of, or a sliver of that pie is included in that. And you can see there that we had as a whole, we had about a 7-cent jump. If you go to the next page, it's going to have the civil town of Mooresville listed. And we're going to see our tax rate, our effective tax rate for the general fund. And that does include our CCD. Our tax rate is going to go to 0.6751, and that is 67.5 cents for every $100 of assessed value on a house that you own. And that is on the assessed value after all of your homestead credits, your deductions, the old PTRC as they called it, the original tax abatements that were put on houses to try to save us as homeowners in the town of Mooresville or any town in Indiana. Our rate was 0.6564, so we are seeing not quite a 2-cent increase in our tax rate. The odd part about that is our budget for the general fund. If you go up and you look at the general fund itself, the tax rate for our general fund went up $6,731. That's it. $6,000. And the rest, you have to wonder how in the world can the tax rate go up if that's all you went up. Our entire tax rate, if you look at that, actually went up, monies collected for general, MVH, and park, $38,000. Our budget for our CCD is deficit spending about $36,000. We budgeted at best guess estimates the CCD, and I'm going to give a little bit of credit. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Jeff and Virginia. Their council adopted a CCD fund that has been the saving grace of this town. It is a flat, fixed rate. No matter what the AV is, that rate never changes. And that has been very vital to the surviving of this town. We bought cars, police cars with it. Now we're paying for fire trucks out of it. It is playing by the rules. The state of Indiana said you can adopt this, and it's forever. And they were gutsy enough that they did that. And I don't know if you had any remonstrance or not, but it was probably tough to do, because all at once you're telling everyone that we're going to raise your taxes 4 1/3 cents, 0.043, and we don't know for sure what we're going to do with it. That's kind of a tough pill to swallow sometimes when you're trying to sell it, but in the long run, the state of Indiana said you can use that CCD for any improvements in the town of Mooresville. And thank you, both of you, for having the courage to stand up and do that. Now, we guessed that we were going to be able to spend $250,000 out of that, because we were guessing at a bigger increase in our AV. Did not happen. If we were to spend $250,000 out of it, we would be, like I said, deficit spending that at about $36,000. So if we look at the grand scheme of how this taxing works, we had our levy is limited by the average of the past 5 years non-farm related income. And we did see an increase this year of 4.1% of our levy. Our levy, listed pretty plainly there, gives us, our levy last year was $3.4 million, 3404019. It went up 4%. So we actually are going to take in, $138,000 more on property taxes. So that's how our levy went up. What's at issue here is our assessed value only went up 1.1%. So you see where the levy passed the increase. Now, I think next year is going to be a true reassessment year, and I think we're going to see probably a bigger increase because of the comps and how housing's being sold now. So we may see next year as a better year, but we also have to take into consideration that the last 5 years of income, and we've had a pretty tough year in the state of Indiana. For some people, it's been a devastating year. So that's where we're at. Tax bills will be coming out. Hopefully not before your sewer bill gets there, but the sad part of it is our tax rate did go up. Doesn't necessarily mean that your property taxes are going to go up, because we got to see what exactly your AV did on your particular home. But the tax rate did go up a little bit. I still think that we've done a pretty good job when you figure the monies that we took in and what we actually did with the budget shows that we've cut it past the bone and we've cut it into the marrow of the budgets. We're doing everything we can. And I think as a council, we've been conservative, and in this case here, it does show that we had to be this time. We had to be, or otherwise we could have seen a tax rate that was far more than that, or we just could have seen unfunded budgets is what it would have amounted to, because we're at our maximum levy. That's that bit of good news. Does anyone want to make a comment on that?
I have a couple of questions, because this was my first budget year that I've been a part of. When some of this is the state tells us what the rates are going to be, correct?
The state tells us what our levy can be. How much money can we raise from property tax?
So this is a function of an increased levy, not necessarily increased spending on our part.
No, the spending portion of it is only $6,000.
Yeah.
We got, because of the levy, we got $138,000 more coming in. We only raised the budget $6,000. So that tells you that somewhere in these budgets over last year, because we're getting $138,000 more, and we only see in the general fund, we only see that $6,000 increase, that somehow, some way, we cut $132,000 out of it. Now, that's oversimplifying it, because then in the MVH we are at $26,467 on an increase, and on the park, they just blow money like it's unbelievably. Just kidding, guys. But it's $5,100 is all their increase is. And Brent, how many full-time employees do you have?
We have 6 full-time.
6 full-time employees. We budgeted for each one of their employees $1,500. So their budget went up $9,000 just in salaries alone, but yet their budget only went up $5,100. So that means they cut $4,000 out of their budget from last year. Somewhere in there they cut $4,000 out of their budget. Have we cut it out of public services? Probably. We've tried to be more efficient. Did we cut public services in the general fund? Yeah, we did. We cut a complete department out of there. We cut $113,000 out of the utility budget, completely gone. Now, again, because we have to play by the rules, we moved $50,000 of that over into MVH, because as I've banged on my drum and screamed at the top of my lungs, our MVH is limited. 1/2 of the MVH funds that come into us have to go into an MVH restricted fund. Even though we're all angry about it, and we think that they're just picking on us, right now there is Senate Bill 207 in front of the Senate that is actually going to possibly lower that restriction down to 40%, And then also allow for de-icing measures, salt, sand, calcium chloride, and you know, let's not push the envelope, but maybe labor in that applying of that can come out of that restricted fund, which right now all they're saying is upgrades, maintenance, and construction of those is allowable out of that MVH. We're looking at using that MVH, you know, I want to make sure that give credit where credit's due. We're looking at using that MVH for our matching portion of the community crossing matching grant. So it does tie it up, but that really hurt the MVH for the past 3 years when they changed that law. And it was nothing that we were doing wrong. You know, again, I always blame Lake County for everything, but I'm sure that someone somewhere was using funds in a non-effective or non-efficient way. The only part I don't know about that, for anyone who wants to follow Senate Bill 207, is it calls for as long as the local governing body adopts a wheel tax. So I don't know how that works. You know, do we have to raise a tax to gain a tax, or to get more use out of a tax? I do not know how that works, and I can't find anything that really narrows that down, whether we even have the authority to adopt a wheel tax. But it is in there, and that means that Mooresville is not the only ones that's having problems with that. So,
Was this discussion and the discussion on the sewer rates required by law for you to put in this meeting?
absolutely not.
Well, I want to thank you for putting them on the agenda because it's taxpayer money, and I think it was a good discussion. And
This
very
is
transparent.
This is so when someone comes up and punches one of us in the nose tomorrow, or when they get their sewer bill, we know why. We know
So I
why.
thank you for doing it.
Well, you know, and again, the year before this, we sat up here and we got our 1742 and our tax rate went down. And we bragged about that. Hey, look, our tax rate went down. So I guess if we're going to take credit, we got to take blame. So
Well, and part of the function of the tax rate is also the assessment, correct?
the assessment.
So that's out of our control.
It's out of our control, and it is a timing thing. You know, there's been some changes made. It is adjusted on an annual basis where it didn't used to be. It used to be every 10 years. And every 10 years, someone got a tax bill that they really weren't expecting. There is a trending portion of that, but I think at the 10-year mark, I think they do a complete overhaul of where we're at and where we've been. So hopefully, maybe next year will be better, but we're still limited to that level. If our tax rate quadruples, we're still limited to that average for the past 5 years of non-farm related income. So what happens at that point in time is the tax rate, the bottom would fall out of the tax rate, and we'd really look like heroes, but it doesn't mean we're going to get a bunch more money.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the salary ordinance employee bonuses. I'm going to have to turn that over to,
I'll take it. I put this item on the agenda. There's two items, one following this. I kind of went back to the drawing board. Obviously, I brought up the civilian bonuses last time. They got shot down for lack of a second. Started brainstorming, coming up with other ideas. I think I've got an idea that you'll like. And once we pass that, I want to combine it with an extra holiday. What that is in essence, going to be less time work. Will be a pay raise for the employee. It's not going to cost the town any money at all. It's just going to give them an additional day off. But what I'd like to do is amend the 2020 salary ordinance and give each additional employee $1,000. Total of 66 employees, which would be $66,000, and they have to be an employee full-time as of January 1st of this year versus somebody that we've hired after that. I know that we're in a couple processes. I don't know if they've been hired yet or not, but they wouldn't be included. They had to be full-time as of 1/1 this year. And then the additional holiday would be celebration of Juneteenth, which is the ending or the emancipation of slavery in the United States. That's celebrated throughout the United States every June 19th, and I feel Mooresville needs to recognize that day also. So that would be my proposal tonight, just to give a little bit back to the employee. to tell them thank you, to show a reward for what they've endured the last year. And I feel we owe that to them.
Comments?
Point at me.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's any secret that I support an employee bonus. We've talked about it before. We have a new member of the council. We can see what he thinks, but when I looked at this, I've talked with Paige at Baker Tilly, and I've in the audience there. That's what this is. You've got these out there if you want to look at them. But as of the 12th of January, Baker Tilly is forecasting that we will have $720,000 and $822 there on line 27 added to our already strong cash reserves of $3.645 million. So for a total of $4,366,392. And then with our budgeted surplus next year, and including the employee bonuses, she used a figure of $81,814. I don't think it'll be that high because we adjusted it down to 1,000 employee, but just use that for illustrative purposes. That would include taxes and so forth. We would still be adding $431,193 to cash reserves. She has told us that $2.5 million to $2.6 million, somewhere in there, is adequate. I provided an email saying that this is from her. The minimum recommended reserve on the general fund is 15%. The ideal reserve level is around 20 to 25%. The town is well above that at 92%, and estimated to be 97% at the end of 2021. And you'll notice the bonuses are built into the 21 figures. She says non-reoccurring one-time cash outlays are an appropriate use of cash reserves. She talks about what, in 2023, where you see a $61,807 deficit there. That's before we've gone through a budget process, and it is assuming COVID restrictions. It's assuming COVID, well, I guess you could say restrictions. She thinks those will improve beginning in 2023. So if you look at 2022, you'll see where I'm talking about, where that 61,000 is. But even if we weren't to do a budget process this year, which we will, if we weren't to address those those issues and look through a budget, we could sustain a $62,000 deficit on our current cash reserves for like 77 years. So I'm not too worried about it. This bonus would be 1.8% of our 2020 year-end cash reserve. I don't think it's going to bankrupt the town at some point. I'm all for being really conservative, but at some point, we just talked about a tax rate increase. At some point, you have to provide a service for what you're taxing, and I think taking care of your employees does that. I realized part of that was the $318,000 in COVID, COVID grant that came in, but it's still, we're already at adequate reserves, and we're adding to them this year and next by a bunch. Like I said, I just think it's, at some point, you're kind of hoarding the money. So I'd like to see something done for the employees, and I'd also like to see, she talks about doing capital improvements. Maybe we can look at that later, or putting some of it in a rainy day fund. She talks about that. I asked her directly, Paige, there's more than adequate cash reserves to sustain the bonuses, correct? Your cash reserves are sufficient to fund a one-time bonus. So the talk that we can't afford it, I think, is just flat wrong. Now, you may be against it for other reasons, but everything I've got and all the figures I can see, it's easily affordable. So I'm definitely for it, but that's where I stand on it. Of course, if you want me to talk about the Juneteenth, I think it would be good for race relations as well. And a good thing for the employee. And I'm a Republican. Republicans have no problem celebrating freedom. Reagan put in Martin Luther King Day, and that was yesterday, so I think it's an appropriate time to bring up the issue of Juneteenth. But as a percentage of the caucus, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, more Republicans voted for that than did Democrats, and I think we don't get credit for that, but we are a freedom-loving party, and I think celebrating freedom is a good thing. That's all I have to say.
I'm very much for bonuses, but I think the timing needs to be right. We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, and we don't know what's gonna happen after that. I think regulations are gonna take they're gonna go up, a lot, I think. That could mean more expenditures to the town. I don't know, I just don't think the timing is right. I would entertain revisiting this maybe in the third quarter or something like that, to see if we make it through okay. And we need to have plenty of cash on hand, I think, to make it through. The other reason that I don't support it this time is because I'm sure there's some taxpayers in town that are not working. And they're having a very tough time. And I think giving our employees bonuses at this point would be kind of like a punch in the nose to them. I know a lot of people are having a hard time that aren't working. So that's kind of where I stand right at this point.
Not to interrupt you, but the reason we have the $720,000 going to an already bloated cash reserve is because the employees and the department heads were extremely frugal with the money from this year. And then you weren't here, but we were extremely frugal for next year. If $80,000 sinks this town, we're in much bigger trouble than this, and it won't.
66.
Well,
Will it?
have you got any signatures that, you know, we can?
I've shared signatures, what do you mean?
Yeah. Do you have any financial guarantees?
Here's the reports from our financial advisor.
I don't know.
No, you don't.
That's not
You
a
just asked
crystal
us-
ball.
Okay. So you know more than the financial advisors do?
No, but
Okay,
I definitely don't, but I just don't think the timing's right.
that's fine.
The timing's never been more right. We've never had more money in that fund than we do today. You know,
Jeff, we don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, this isn't over.
it's right there in front of them.
It's just not over yet.
Well, I understand it's not over, but it's in black and white, and it's from our financial advisors who we take input from and advice from. $66,000. I mean, we owe it to our employees. We do.
I know they do a good job, and I'm proud of them, but like I say, it's,
Let's reward.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, they do an excellent job.
Let's show them.
I'm super happy to support this, super happy. And I want people to know it.
Like I say, I think it'd be a black arm of people that aren't doing so well right now.
Maybe these people would spend some more money with the people who need it. It's, so you don't think it's sitting in an account doing nothing. How does that benefit taxpayers? It doesn't. We've already got a bloated cash reserve, a very bloated one, 92%.
I'm just saying, right now, it just doesn't seem like the time. The employees haven't lost a day's pay, you know.
No one should lose a day's pay for a day's work.
I know a lot of people that have.
So are you proposing to give this money to them?
Nope.
Then what's your point?
My point is, it'd be a blind cry if we gave,
Not to me, it wouldn't. I've had a lot of taxpayers support it, so.
have you ever had to lay anybody off?
Sure I have.
Have you?
Yes, sir.
That's very personal.
How does this lay anyone off? This rewards employed people.
I'm just looking down long term. I'm looking
Okay.
long term.
I just totally disagree with you.
Well, that's your prerogative.
Yes, it is.
Like I say, that's just my opinion. I'd be happy to revisit it in the third quarter maybe, just to see how things come through with it.
Well, It's always fun to have these conversations. I actually do support the Juneteenth. I think it's great that Mooresville is taking a step ahead, both of the state, the federal government, basically any town that I know of, because it was a hot button topic in the private sector last year. Had to do a lot of research, and that's my own ignorance. Kind of had to look at, the Texas and, all the generals and stuff like that to kind of learn about it. I think it'd be good, and if you want to do these separately, I think I would be happy to support the holiday. But I cannot do bonuses at this time. I've said it before.
Is that it?
I'm good.
The bonuses and the cash on hand, again, probably, the goal and the cash bonuses, weren't there. They've been building and building and building to this point. And what we can do, and my thought process on it is, we're making payments on leased equipment out there that we can pay off. We have $1.2 million. If the idea is let's spin this down and generate a way that we can improve services or pay long term, we can take and pay off 2 of our leases. They are the dispatch equipment and the fire trucks, which I know we just moved that around, but the lease payments to pay those off right now is about $1.25 million. If we pay those off, that's going to save us about $208,000 on interest alone, just on those payoffs on those. The other thing that does is that would free up our payments that are coming out of Lowett at $104,000, and our payments that are coming out of CCD at $90,000. And it would be a constant, it would pay off a one-time payment, and then it would free up $200,000 for our budgets. Whether we looked at another round of long-term pay increases, but it's something that's sustainable. I have had the question posed. What would we say right now if the federal government said we're not going to send the COVID checks out? What if we're just going to give it to the government employees? What would we say then? And that was kind of a wake-up call for me. So I agree that there's ways to do things and there's ways to spend this money. Like you said, the going back to the rainy day fund, we budgeted 0 out of our rainy day fund this year. But if we budgeted if we can move $750,000, is that what Paige's email said, Shane?
Yeah, but if you can't afford to spend $80,000 because you don't know what tomorrow brings, how can you take $1 million in cash and get rid of it? It's not making any sense to me.
Because you're investing it into, when we spend that 1.25, which we're going to spend anyhow.
It's still cash gone. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring now.
We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but it frees up $200,000.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I knew where you were going to go with this.
Okay.
I can see who's been talking to who, and that's okay. I'm clearly going to lose the vote anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I wanted it on the record and I don't understand why every time we propose something good for employees, then all of a sudden we get all these ideas. Where have all these ideas been in the last year, the last
20 years.
20 years. 20 years. I can tell you 20 years ago we didn't have the money. Jeff, what can you tell me about 16 years ago? Didn't have the money, did we?
We've got to start doing more, Tommy. You know where I stand on it.
I know.
We're talking $66,000,
I
okay,
get it.
that we can afford. What was the plan to pay all this stuff off before all this? What
The
were
plan.
we going to do?
The plan was, and we rolled $300,000 in there. The plan was to continue to build it until we had enough money to make a major purchase, to do something major. That would have always been my
We could
plan.
pay most of that off and still do it and still be above the cushion they want us to be at.
Yeah.
We could. But we
That is
run
what
these
I'm
scare
at, I
tactics
just don't wanna do it.
that we don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. We're scaring everybody. Last meeting, we said we had an email from our financial advisors saying not to do it. We proved that to be a lie. That was a lie. We got it in black and white. Unless somebody else can provide something otherwise. You know, I feel we owe it to the employee. I knew it was gonna get shot down. This is not my first day around this town, but I'm gonna propose it. And I owe it to the employees and the taxpayers to do that. If you
Cash
wanna
is
vote it
still,
down, you can vote it down.
cash is still cash. Either you need the cash because you don't know the uncertain future, because payments on the things you're talking about are much less than $1.2 million. So it takes less cash to pay them.
And
So
you
you
wanna talk
either-
about smacking somebody in the face, let's smack our employees and just give them one day. Then let's give them a week. Let's give them a week if we wanna really reward them. That'll add up to over $1,000. Let's give them Juneteenth and 4 extra personal days today. If we really wanna reward them.
What do they get now?
They get. If I can find the list here. I know you get 3 personal days, and then we get, I'm counting here, it's kind of hard. I believe it's 16 holidays, 15 holidays, something like that. 2 Christmas, you get Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then depending on if there's an election, you get primary and election day, which there isn't this year here. So it varies year to year.
That's pretty good.
It's really good.
That's very generous.
It's very generous.
And I'm
Look at our
glad
salary.
we can do that, you know.
Sure.
Because I know companies after the downturn that haven't recovered enough to give any.
But what are those people, what is their salary? Because we're one of the lowest paid in the county. So that's what I mean, the little things mean a lot here, and that's what we've always tried to do, because we haven't been able to pay what Plainfield pays and Avon pays and
Right, you don't have
Franklin
to-
pays
you don't have the tax
and
base.
Indianapolis pays, so.
Yeah, for the.
We really
outside
can't
town,
compare time
We're
off to
pretty
what
good.
everybody else does, because we don't compare the full package. So,
I'm just saying the timing's not right for me.
I understand that, but
I'm not saying don't do it, it's just the timing's not right now. Why does it have to be on me?
sure.
Because they were frugal with the money right now. But
Well, I mean,
let me know when
we're not
you're
gonna be through going. You know, I'm not against it. I think bonus.
We're gonna vote on it if the president will take a motion.
I'm just waiting for everyone to get done. Everyone
I
done?
don't blame you.
I need a motion.
I make a motion that we move forward with the $1,000 bonuses. I believe this would be the first reading, and then the second reading would be next meeting with the public hearing, correct? To amend the ordinance.
Yeah, if it passed, yes.
So I would just make a motion that we move forward with the bonuses.
I second that.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. The employee handbook, the holidays. Do you want to do it separate, or do you want to do them together?
It's your guys' ballgame, what do you want to do?
It's up to you. You put it on the agenda.
Well, I mean, with a lot of discussion, you want to give them a week? Drinking for a week? That'll be one holiday and 4 extra personal days they can take. And that'll be on page 8.6, section 8.2.
Are you talking about Juneteenth?
Juneteenth and an additional time off they can take. Would you support that, Gary?
I think the Juneteenth thing is good.
One day's an embarrassment to the employee, I'm for it, but I mean, we take what you can get in one day. After all they've endured,
We've all endured
well,
it.
sure we have.
I mean, I haven't missed a
Most of
day
these
except for
employees
when I had
work these
COVID.
holidays, remind me. Most of them work the holiday. So, would you support the week? I'll make the motion.
Well,
I wasn't prepared
Yes.
for it.
I need to insert that if you're gonna add a legal holiday for the town, it actually has to be done by ordinance, not in a handbook. You adopt an ordinance, and then the handbook reflects that. The personal days is different. But you're still, it's kind of with the salary. You're still allowed to introduce it tonight, but if this passes tonight, we'd have to have a public hearing and an adoption of the ordinance in 2 weeks. Just for the Juneteenth,
But not the personal days?
not the personal days, no.
Do you want to take them one, did you make a motion?
I have not made a motion.
Do you want to take them one at a time to
We can't,
do the Juneteenth one and then do the 4 additional?
that'll work.
Do you want to make the motion? Or,
I make a motion, we move forward with Juneteenth, as presented.
I would second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, for clarification though, the Juneteenth was actually when General Gordon Granger announced it at Galveston. It was actually 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So it shows the government does move slow in some cases.
I'll have a resolution or an ordinance for you to review for the next one, for June 19th. The town's going to declare it a holiday, proposed.
Next item on the agenda is the,
Do they want to do the personal days? Are
oh,
they-
I'm sorry.
Is that one it?
I'm sorry.
Are you wanting more benefits?
I think they deserve more benefits, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I never
Yeah, I'm
talked
glad
about
you
it.
Let me ask you this. You keep talking about a bonus.
Sure.
And you keep, like on the personal days, you said, when you came in here, you said, you made the comment that we do the bonus and we do that day. One of the things in just looking at bonuses and the way that people have done it, different companies, and it's a one-shot deal like your bonus, but they put a number on additional vacation days, one time, 1 year.
Who does that?
Penske is the first one that I read that did that. They came out and they said, okay, all their employees are going to get additional vacation days this year. That is their COVID relief bonus. What about something like that in lieu of the cash stipend? Like you said, it's already paid for.
Sure. Yeah, and if we don't hire back, we're not out any money.
But it has to be used. It has to be used this year. I mean, if we say it's 1 day, if we say it's 40 hours, 8 hours, 40 hours, whatever, it has to be used this year.
Why are you against giving them money?
Because I guess
I mean, I know why, but I mean.
because I think I want to use it. I think in my opinion, we can use it to pay down some debt, and we'll have it guaranteed for later on.
Okay.
That's my, and I feel as strongly about that as what you do. So I mean, you know, we just see it from different angles. That's all it is. It doesn't mean one of us right and one of us wrong. It just, we're looking at it different views. But I'm still also trying to appease what you're saying.
When will you be in favor of the bonus? I mean, and what does it have to be? What are your thoughts and figures? What do they have to be, Greg or Tom?
I would, and in all honesty, it's like he said, I would rather see it go towards a permanent raise. I would rather see it go towards a permanent raise.
They voted the bonus down, so it can't be brought back up, correct?
Correct.
So it can't be brought up, back up, so that it's we're kind of getting out of order in my view.
Well, but it's still a discussion on the,
He's talking now about a salary change or optional, other ways to provide benefit compensation. He's not, I don't think you're talking about bonuses.
no,
So I think he's introducing other options to providing compensation.
and just like the idea of paying off stuff, I'm not ready to do that. If you said, hey, I think that's a great idea, I'd say we need to wait. We need to wait until, and see what's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months. I'm telling you that when you're looking at a budget that 2/3 of it are generated from income tax and use tax, that it scares the daylights out of me. It's going to be the average of the last 2 years. They've already said that we're going to see a drop. I think that we'll know more then, and then at that point in time, we're looking at a salary ordinance, and we're looking at ways to fund a true raise that is forever, as long as they're employed here. That's where I'm thinking at, Jeff.
How can we give a raise where it's uncertain about COVID? See that, when you use that argument, I can use it against anything, anywhere, anytime.
I'm saying that I'm not ready to do it now. I'm saying that this is down the road.
You either have cash or you don't.
Okay.
I don't see, if you say we don't have the cash for 66,000, I don't know how you can say we have cash for $1,200,000. Because cash is what's protecting you from COVID. So
I'm not saying we don't have.
that discussion's over though, so. I don't know, if I would be willing to look at vacation time, but I don't know that it was part of this meeting, and I don't know if it's been, I don't know how it would work.
Oh,
other than just what you're
I don't
saying.
think we can do anything tonight. I mean, I think we have 2 weeks to come up with something that, like you said, you want to do, rewards the employees.
You guys come up with an idea, you don't like mine. So
Okay.
if you want to present something, that's fine.
Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the COVID grant discussion. This comes back to, Shane had pointed out that he had started working on the Phase 3 COVID-19 response grant for the Okra documents. Vicki is here. She was working with him. I provided you with a list of items that she thought she would need. And also, what goes along with that is a contract to sign with them. That with Vicki. Vicki, if you want to step up.
Thank you. I'm with BLN Grant Services, and I'm a certified grant administrator through Okra for the CDBG grants. And as you know, with COVID happening, they have changed several of their grants and kind of paused some and have moved forward with some of these COVID-related grants. We're currently in Phase 3 at the moment, And some of the programs that are available for that are, excuse me, I didn't have a paper on top. One was for expanding food pantries, which is one that Shade had initially expressed interest in. There were also ones for this one, there was 3 things, I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me. Anyways, that was the one that was the main concern, and we were looking to see what we could do to give some further sending for churches and missions, since our food pantry helps so many people in the town of Mooresville. With that being said, that initial conversation started right kind of during the middle of the holidays. And I said at that time, I would see, we could see what we could do and get going on it. And then, of course, the new year happened and things changed and some delays happened in there. And right now, the proposal stage for this grant is due on January 29th. And tomorrow, given if you guys were to approve this, we have 9 days to get this together, which in my honest and humble opinion, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to turn in a subpar proposal because we weren't prepared and then you get denied, because that doesn't help anybody. So I'm being perfectly honest here, there's a lot of things that I need, and within 9 days' time, at our best day efforts, is probably not going to happen in 9 days, as much as that saddens me to bring those taxpayer dollars back to Mooresville. With that being said, I don't look at that as a complete negative. I have not heard that there's going to be a phase 4. I will not be surprised if there's a phase 4 due to the ongoing pandemic. However, one of the big things that was going to be needed, income surveys are a big deal in the world of community block development grants through OKRA, and it's based on the low to moderate income ratio in your area for those residents that are affected by this, because this is a grant through HUD. And to do that, we have to, there's a couple different surveys. We can look at it's great we have the 2020 census, but we don't know when those numbers are going to come out, when they're going to come out. We base it off of that. And we like to look at numbers that are 51% or higher. Right now, if I go from the American Community Survey, sorry, I have the survey right here in front of me. I can only go off the 2015 numbers because it's the most recently updated, and that is off the ACS data. The town of Mooresville is at a 44.5%. So currently you wouldn't qualify for that income, but after speaking with the regional coordinator around here, her name is Dee Dee Leonard, there was a way we could have worked around that. However, we would have needed to start it before the holidays. So we could have gotten a thing, working with Churches and Mission, we could have gotten everybody who came in for assistance to have fill out a quick little application that literally takes 30 seconds, and then that would have given us enough data to move past the income survey part of it. So, not to mention the list on here, it's not hard to get, but if some of these policies aren't passed or the ordinance are passed, and the financial part I know is probably not that difficult to get by this time of year. It's a lot to get together very quickly. So I just, like I said, I don't want to turn in a subpar proposal and then deny you that money. There is, with the use of a grant administrator, I will not lie, there is a fee involved with that. However, with these COVID grants, you can take 100% of whatever is in my proposal. That amount can come out of the amount of the grant award, so that's how that kind of gets paid for. It does not come out of any money that you would need to come up with or anything like that. For the COVID grants, it's different for their other grants that they offer. My suggestion or idea to let you guys ponder is if you choose not to move forward with this phase 3, I would suggest going ahead and getting an income survey done. We don't know when the 2020 census numbers are going to be out. It's hard to say. I mean, I have no idea, especially with how long it took to collect the extra data this past year. So they're not very expensive to do. If I put my other hat on for just a second, when Brown Township did their income survey, we had a very positive, strong response, and the residents got back to us in a very quick and timely manner. I would I would doubt that any other, obviously that would expand beyond Brown Township, but it would shock me if it would take any length of time for that to I think we'd have a high success rate with that as far as returns. Again, that's totally up to you, but if that's something you're interested, that would also allow you, not just for these COVID grants, but there are several other CDBG grants that you could also apply for as they were to open up as well. There's planning grants for certain projects that they helps with. There's wastewater, there's sewer, there's public facilities grants, and that's all bringing taxpayer dollars back to Mooresville where it should be. So just something to think about. Again, it's up to you. If you'd like me to really bust it and get it going, I'm more than happy to do that. I have no problem doing that. But it would be the same on both ends because this is this is a three-way party thing, the way this one would be involved. So it just depends on what you guys decide. And do you have any questions?
So you think there will be no more opportunities through another phase of the COVID grant?
I mean, I can't answer that 100% because I have not heard that for sure, but it would not surprise me because right now the Okra's main, I don't want to say their main concern, but their high priority right now is all the COVID grants. And I would be surprised if they don't do another one if this one closes. Again, they're not going to tell us that until about February or so, but
When I first got the email from, you talked about, she goes by Dee Dee, but Deidre from Okra, it mentioned, the grant could be used for the expansion of, I call it poverty relief or whatever you want to call it, but the food pantry idea. There was also a small business grant that could help small businesses, but that was similar to what Morgan County did.
correct.
And Morgan County didn't even go through their whole offering. They returned money back because they didn't have enough applicants. And it was pretty tedious for businesses a lot. I talked to like Ryan Goodwin and some of the people that helped with that. And they didn't apply. And when we offered our $50,000 redevelopment grant program, it was a joint thing that the council and redevelopment worked together on last year. We had 0 applicants. So I think that's the reason I kind of went towards the poverty idea. So if they had a lot of feedback from some businesses who, when they got into that application process, it was so cumbersome, they wanted so much detail that they just withdrew. So that's how I ended up with the poverty relief idea.
Sure. As far as the following through of the paperwork and all that, that's also part of my services as well. So that's all involved with that as well. I do understand I was not involved really with the phase 2, I'll be honest with you, but I did hear that it was very cumbersome. There's a lot of paperwork to some of this, so, and I understand that. That's why I got trained to do what I do, because I'm good at paperwork. So there is a lot of paperwork to do with it, but again, it's, it was money to help them. So if paperwork's the cost of it, it just depends what you need at that time. So maybe they didn't feel that was worth the need, and that's okay.
If we don't go forward with this today, would you be in touch with the president of the council and let him know if there's another opportunity that comes up?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I'm just waiting for the next email. The way they've been spaced out, I would say, so this one closes out the first part of February. Let me see, hang on, let me check my notes, I apologize. February 26th, so the end of February is when the applications are due for this. You're not going to hear anything much before then, so they're going to wait till that one ends first. So I would guess in the spring is when we would hear something next.
You mean the final, not the initial application?
Right, these grants are in 2 stages. There's always a proposal stage,
Okay.
which you have to have a proposal turned in first. So that's the January 29th deadline, that's the proposal part. February 26th is the actual application. The full application is due with everything they need, so.
So a new round would come probably after that.
That would be my guess. That's why I said I wouldn't look to hear anything till about March, probably. I mean, we might hear it by the end of February, but somewhere in there, so.
I spoke to Dottie with Church and Missions. She said that there was a good possibility that they could get everything that we needed. I had spoken to Vicki about the income survey because that's the first thing that I was worried about.
Yeah.
And she was telling me what they could do there. I talked to Dottie and she said they could possibly do that there, but she would also have to clear it with her board of directors. I did ask her if they could segregate the monies to where if we got it, it stayed in Mooresville's. She said she thought, that they could do that with no problem because some people do make donations with specifications like that. The fair housing ordinance we already have. That was done in 2010. The drug-free policy is in our employee handbook. The financials from the Church and Mission, she said possibly, but she'd need to know exactly what you wanted. I think we're asking a lot of Vicki to say, hey, we're going to be able to do this and get this done before the 29th. But I also think it gives us a heads up. I'd like to know more about the income survey, how we proceed with that, and how we pay for that, and what that. You said they last 5 years, so.
So income surveys are good for 5 years once they're conducted. The way these work is it's a $1,000 fee that does not come out. Obviously, there's no grant involved with that, so that is something that comes out of your dollars. And what that does, what happens basically is we'll sign. If you want to go that way, we will sign an agreement. From there, what I do is I get a list of town Mooresville residents. And from there, I make a list and we situate them. I put them in this random organizer site. And what we do is there's also there's a mathematical equation we got to use to come up with how many people we actually contact. So then I have a letter. It's a form letter that goes out with a questionnaire. And it's based on the area and kind of, what it asks is how many people live in your house and do you make above or below a certain dollar amount, and that's all they have to do. There's no names on it, there's no I send out the names, but actually I don't, because my letters always say to the resident, it doesn't say to the name, so that way it's not specific. But then it goes to their address, and then it explains why you're asking for this information, what you want to use it for, so that we would explain it was for the grant or whatever. And then they just mail this back to me. Everything is in prepaid postage things. There's nothing the residents have to do but check, and they're done. It takes them literally 30 seconds to do this and put it back in their mailbox. So it's a very quick and easy system. And then once all of them come in, we give them so much time frame, and then we have to see kind of as the percentages rolls in. There's some tabulations that go into all that, and then I can give you a full report at the end that says whether you guys hit the HUD guidelines to apply for a further grant or whether you do not.
Did you do something like that for Brown Township? I think I got a letter like that one.
So I didn't actually do Brown Township's income survey. We did have one done. Brown Township did qualify. As far as my grant services side of things, I just got done doing one for Monrovia earlier this year, in 2020. They unfortunately did not qualify, so sometimes you don't know till you try. So, but at least they, like I had told them at the time, because they had asked me some questions as well, and I said, well, for me, $1,000 is a lot cheaper than telling your residents you didn't try to apply for a grant to get monies back. At least this way you can say, hey, listen, we know we don't qualify because we had this income survey done and there's not much we can do, so you can't say you're denying any funds coming back into the town. And they felt that way as well. So,
were they denied for a specific grant, or was
yeah, they were trying to upgrade their sewer system, their stormwater, their stormwater system.
So
they're expanding greatly over in Monrovia.
The threshold for grants are different based on what it's.
Yeah, well, yeah, for a CDBG grant, you want your HUD income levels to be 51% or higher. So, because, their whole basis for a HUD grant is based on, we're trying to to affect the most low to moderate income families that we can. Which is, granted, if you're in an area where, it's not bad if you live in a town where everybody makes great money, that's a great thing, but if you want to apply for a grant with this certain program, you have to be in income restrictions, so. And again, that's why it's totally random, and because we don't know who we're sending them to, so we just kind of go, and you never know what you're gonna get. So some are gonna be above, some are gonna be below. You don't know until you get the responses back, so.
What licensing or what qualification do you have that makes you able to do this?
So I went through Oak Brook puts on a class every year where they certify everybody. There's a exam that we have to take at the end of that. It's a, 1, 2, 3, it's a 10-day class in 3 different stages that we have to take. And I went through that in 2019. And then I got certified at the end of the year for that, so.
That lets you do the income study as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you're not a certified grant administrator, you can't conduct any of those. Because there's a lot of training that goes into those. There's a lot of 10 days. There's a lot crammed into 10 days. But yeah, there's a lot to these. There's a lot to putting them together, and they walk you through all that. So.
Any other questions of Vicki? Vicki, could we at least send a copy of a proposal to do that?
Sure.
Put it on, we'll forward that to all of our council members and then discuss it further at another meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for your time.
Are we all in agreement, or does anyone disagree that maybe we need to get our ducks in a row for the next one rather than push her on this one? Jeff, you agree, or?
I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
Dustin, you agree?
Thanks,
Okay, let's
Vicki.
do that. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the universal valuation discussion. That is, this is something that Diane actually started at started last year. And then we got into the whole COVID. They didn't go out. They weren't able to do things. This is where we pay a third party, Universal Valuation Incorporated, to come in and tell us what we own and put a value on that. What this does in the long term is give us an argument if we would sustain a major loss with the insurance companies. The other thing that it does is it gives us a reported value on all of our assets to provide to the State Board of Accounts. And like I said, last year she started in with this, and what ended up happening was they said, we're sorry, we can't do it. So this year apparently they're able to do that. This is an agreement with them. The cost to do this is $5,750. I'm sure Diane can answer any questions, or are there any questions or comments from the council?
Is this necessary for your bookkeeping?
Yes, there's a module within Gateway that we're required to put asset management in there. And right now, there's a couple of things that was noticed during our audit, but they did, I don't want to say they overlooked it, but they said, you've got documentation showing that you've been trying to move forward in 2020 to get this squared away, so they're just going to go ahead and just look for these updates next year. Well, for this year, actually.
So you feel like you have to have it to keep up with?
Oh, absolutely.
How long will this be good for as far as the state goes?
5 years, I believe. And I think the last one we had was in 2011. And it's the same company that performed those inventory that will be doing this one as well.
it has to be $5,000 or greater, the value of the
Yes,
assets that
yes.
they list.
That's our threshold that was set by an ordinance to consider an asset. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes.
Now, is that something that say if something's replaced or added or anything, do we add this or do they keep track of that or?
No, we keep track of that in asset management.
Yeah, they just kind of make a program for us to follow.
Right.
Then
As we acquire things, like right now, I was looking into the easements that we have taken place on the south side of town. Because it doesn't have a value of $5,000 or greater, I don't have to put it into the system as an asset.
Can we afford it with COVID? I'm gonna bring it up every chance I can. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't expect anything any different.
Need a motion to either enter into the agreement or no?
I would make a motion to enter into the agreement with Universal Valuation Corporation. Is that good enough?
That's great. Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I need permission to sign this contract. They only have a signature line for one person. May I
I
have?
thought that last year the council made a motion to let the council president be the signatory on everything. We haven't done that.
We have not. That is
Should we
correct.
just do that?
That- That is entirely up to you. I know we usually do that at the second meeting of every month, and that's, I guess I need that in the form of a motion.
I would make the motion to make the council president the signatory for town documents.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Jeff, was that you?
Yes.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that'll cover you for this contract then, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, still under new business, and this is kind of added at the last minute because of an email that we all received. In looking at the list that Shane and Beth had put together as far as appointments within the town or reappointments, everyone serves until they are replaced or reappointed. However, we did have a police commissioner resign from the position. And Fred Settles is, his term has expired. And I just think for a legal standpoint and for continuity at the police department that we would need to have at least two so they can have a quorum when they have a meeting. I did speak to Fred, and he was overzealous and just begging to stay on that police commission. He really was. But he did offer to do that, and Fred's been a solid member of that police commission. And I just need thoughts or motions to that point.
He's grandfathered in, he does not have, because he's already served, so he does not have to reapply.
Correct.
Yeah.
Comments? Motions?
I'd make the motion to reappoint Fred Settle to the police commission.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Was that a 2-year term?
That is a 3-year term. There are staggered terms. We still have, we will now have a vacancy for a non-Republican. It is a bipartisan board. We already have 2 Republicans on it for the balance of that term.
Okay, thank you.
So apply now and apply often. Department heads. Chief Dalton.
Yeah. We have finished up our hiring process. We scored everybody after the written test and the interview process. We did give out 2 conditional offers of employment. Their background checks came back fine. The next phase now is basically physicals and their physicals and stuff like that. Like try to go ahead and move forward with that. One is actually becoming a lateral transfer from another agency, so he really does not have to go through a physical. It's just more or less paperwork on our end, and we accepted. His conditional offer was accepted by him, and I'd like to go ahead and move forward with that. And with this second one, we also are going to have to go off and go with physicals.
How many short are we now?
2.
After these will fill those vacancies?
These will fill the 2. I would like to go ahead and continue that process, because I do know I have one retiring at the end of March.
So just to be clear, after these 2, you'll be full until the one retires?
Correct.
That's good news.
On the lateral, when you said, did you contact PERF? Did they say you don't have to do that, or is this something we're opting not to do? Was there any pre-existing that we don't know about?
We don't have to. In the past, Chief Metzger has hired outside. I know he's hired a couple from Brown Township and some other agencies. And then we don't have to send them off to PERF since they're already into the 77 pension fund. So our board has the pension for the firehouse. We don't have to, there's nothing for us to vote on or look at because they're already in there. So it's just more of a lateral, and we just sign off on it and move everything forward. Okay.
Did you have, I know you put on here the surplus fire equipment discussion.
Okay, I just didn't know if we needed to move forward with the
I
hiring or all that. I mean, I can continue on talking, it don't matter to me.
I think we've given him permission to fill those positions, haven't we?
Yeah, this open communication, that's what you got.
Okay, and that's what I had to make sure. So the other thing, I'd like to try to declare the vehicles that we have extra as a surplus, and then getting them moved, like I said in the last meeting. With going through some brokers, looking at municipality, government bids for selling excess surplus. I wrote down here for the engine 14, we're roughly about $5,000. The squad, we're looking anywhere between $35,000 to $40,000. The pickup truck, we're looking at about $2,000, and that was in a Kelly Blue Book. And then engine 13, if we decide to go ahead and move with that one, we're looking at about $10,000 on that. I know with talking with Dave Moore, they were kind of interested in our squad. I don't know if that's just a shifting of the titles or whatever on that end. So, and again, like I said, moving these vehicles, I mean, we're at NFPA, you know, they're recommending because of the safety and the technology and all that stuff. We need to start looking at them after about 15 years of replacing them and moving them back. And I think Tom said it in the last meeting, that it was a, you know, engine 14, which is that cab, that open cab in the rear, it was a good truck for us at one point in time because it was a training piece, or we had a couple guys come back for callbacks and they took off and they went in that truck. And it's still a good truck, and it'd be probably a good truck for a volunteer fire department somewhere out there.
Questions or comments?
What are the plans with the money, once we sell these trucks? What do we plan on doing with that? Is that to go to pay off our other trucks, or?
So I know that I'm looking into some right now. I'm actually in the process of creating 3 different grants right now. So hopefully we'll hear something back. That's going to be some time on that. Part of my ideas were basically, I know we need to start looking at replacing our extrication equipment. That was part of it, was basically start replacing some of our equipment that we are in need of trying to replace because they're getting years of age, and just basically trying to move forward and progressing that stuff.
How old is the extrication equipment? Is that about 10 years old or more?
Best of our knowledge, they were bought in 2013, and they were a demo set through the track already. I think it was Doug Allen had a connection since he works at the track. They were getting rid of that, and they were probably already 5 years old at that point in time. So.
Is that the haul truck? Is that
Do what, I'm sorry?
the haul truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What, so we're looking at maybe 15, 17 years maybe, somewhere around there.
I ask a dumb question. I don't want to be difficult here. If I'm being difficult, you all know it. We just approved to have assets appraised. Should we let them, this stuff, except for the one vehicle, is at least 5,000? I mean, should we make sure these values are accurate before we get rid of them, or is the need to get rid of them more important than that, because we're maintaining, there's costs associated
Right.
with
Well,
keeping.
the prices that I got was basically looking off of different brokers for fire apparatuses.
Yeah,
That's what they're going for online. I don't know, and there's a markup fee. It's just like any dealership, so I don't know.
it was just a,
Right.
I'm not
Yeah, and
trying to.
no, I get it, so. and
we just paid for an appraisal for assets by somebody that's supposed to know what they're doing. Just a
Well,
question.
there's something in here regarding property to be excluded.
Oh, is it excluding the auto?
It's, well, it's discussing the inland marine policy. I don't think it includes vehicles. Pretty sure it doesn't.
So there's a state statute that speaks specifically to surplus property.
Okay,
So if this is something that the board decides to do, is to designate these particular apparatus as surplus property, then I would prefer to work with, and I can tell you what the options are available under statute, but I would prefer to work with Chief Dalton to make sure that we accurately dispose of these. And I just found that one of those, it kind of depends on what the intent is of these fire department apparatus. They're kind of different than like other vehicles. And I know you just said one of them you think would be great for a volunteer department. Do you think that these would be something that we would want to sell or gift or donate to another fire department? Or are we looking to honestly just sell them?
I was just making a comment. I know with a couple of years ago, I know a volunteer fire department came in and was asking about that truck. And at that time, Chief Messer, wasn't basically ready to get rid of them because we didn't have the 2 new trucks yet. So he was basically just keeping it, and they said, reach it back. And I don't even know if that volunteer fire department would be even interested in purchasing that right now.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I'm not-
Yeah,
I am by no means not asking for a commitment from you right now, but there is a statute that specifically addresses fire department apparatus and how you can dispose of that, different from all others because yours is so unique. So there's generally only 3 ways that you're allowed to dispose of government surplus property, and you either have to do it on an internet auction site that's been approved by the state, you have to do it with an auctioneer, or you have to issue bids, and either do that publicly or they can be sealed, and then this board would open them and you take the highest one. But with fire department apparatus, apparently, and again, I could work with you, we don't have to do that and just pick up the phone and start calling other departments and see if they have any interest in any of this equipment. And that can be done, we can sell it, gift it. It says, or another arrangement acceptable to the government body and the fire department. So again, if this board approves you designating them as surplus property, there's a way for us to work through specifically how you can dispose of it.
I'm assuming that's the govdeal.com and then municipality.com websites.
I don't know, I'm looking at the Indiana code. I don't know the particular website
They're on the paper.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know I think it's DLGF. I'm not sure which state board we have to bless the internet auction with, but you may not have to go that route if this is something that you would get rid of to another fire department. If it's not, then we would have to decide if they want to get rid of it with an auctioneer on an internet site or with a public bid.
I'm not seeing where vehicles are excluded from this. I see inland marine policy, which I assume would be like a boat. Talks about equipment too, but I don't know if they appraise a fire truck.
I would say that would be considered equipment.
Yeah, I'm not seeing where it excludes automobiles. I wouldn't, that'd be a lot of value to exclude, wouldn't it?
Right.
At town.
I will
wide.
check with him on that tomorrow before we sign this.
Okay.
Make sure, because we had an in-depth conversation.
Replacement value and what you can actually get out of them
You're
I mean,
right.
is going to be different. I mean, what they're bringing out there on the open market.
And again, I haven't really talked to Superintendent David Moore for a while, so I don't know if they're still interested in this squad or not. Tom, are you still over?
Yeah, but I don't know, at this point in time, he's doing some repairs on one of the dump trucks, and I don't know.
Right, and I haven't talked to him for a couple of days myself either.
My concern on it is on engine 13, we just spent a bunch of money on it, and I know that in the past we've had issues questioning the 08, the contender on the frame and the condition and everything like that. I don't know, but am I to understand that it's not even in our building? 13's not in our building?
13 is not in our building right now. We actually did get it moved out when they were calling for snow, just in case. And the school is also holding it. But we do have room to put it back in whenever we need to. We were just kind of keeping it out for, basically for the skidster with the plow off our driveway, stuff like that, just because it has to be sitting inside, so we just kind of make room for it for temporary purposes.
What's the thoughts of the council? Do we want to wait until we get a value on these, like Shane said, or go from there, or?
How long do you think that will take?
It says, I think, I thought it was 30 days, but 30 to 60. Currently, we are scheduling approximately 30 to 60 days in advance of performing the appraisal field work. So you're
That's
probably
if we go back to
looking,
the front of the line.
you're probably looking at 30 to 60 days minimum, and then probably more like 90 or something for them to put the actual appraisal together. So that's why I asked the question, is the need to move quicker to save costs on maintenance more important than making sure we have our values right? I don't know the answer to that. But since we just approved an appraisal, I thought it was a prudent question, or
I agree that we wait until after it's done. I mean, we're not doing maintenance on them because we're not using them. See if that, let's see what do they say when Diane calls her tomorrow and move forward.
I'm pretty sure that the fire trucks, because it mentions in here about makes and models of the equipment. So a fire truck is considered equipment for the fire department.
and it does
The
not
fire
list
department-
autos or anything as an exclusion either, so.
And the
I
fire
took it
department
to
is
be
on
all-
the list
all
of
incidents.
one of the departments that they will be visiting, so.
So how about we just hold off on that until we have a value? Is that acceptable?
And I'm not trying to,
No, let's-
but since we're paying for it, I'm like, if your numbers are higher,
Yeah, and like I said,
and you can get more, I mean.
it was basically just looking off of some of the websites and stuff, and that's kind of where I got the numbers down. I mean,
I like to have documents to look at, you know, if I,
Right.
it's taxpayer money, it's not mine.
oh yeah. So, the one thing I did forget on my little notes here to mention, the one conditional offer, since he was a lateral, it sounds like we're talking with the town clerk and stuff, we can get him in by the end of the month. And he already works for the town already, a part-time employee. So, all right, any other questions or anything for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
I finally have stats for December. We did 163 incident reports, 32 arrests, 44 citations, 118 warnings, 1,925 CAD calls. We responded to 28 accidents, 24 of those were property damage, 3 were personal injury. 1 was a hit and run. We had 18.5 hours overtime, 147.5 hours comp time, and mileage was 15,608. As Councilman Warden spoke to her, we lost Jennifer Casper as one of our commissioners. She was a good commissioner. I hate to see her go. I told her anytime she's ready to come back, that we'd love to have her. I'm glad you reappointed Fred. That's going to be good for us. We've got a meeting on Thursday, so we can now function at that meeting. As far as new hires, we have 2 packets back from PERF. We're waiting for the other 2. So once those are back, we can do our local board, and then we can submit that to the state PERF board. So it's looking, unfortunately, maybe like in February when we'll get those guys actually on board. We did get our other 2 people out of FTO. They are on the road now. They're assigned to shifts. So I was able to finally adjust. Officer McDaniel has moved into the detective division now, so he's now my second detective. Other than that, that's all I have. Any questions?
I have one. Has Fred been down to the Superior Court to be?
He has not been yet, because didn't know what was going to go on tonight, but I think Councilman Cook has talked to him about that. Is that correct?
If he gets sworn in, he'll go down tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Legal counsel.
I have 2 items to bring to the board this evening. The first is Resolution 9-21. It's attached to your packet. This resolution directly relates to the NICE-PAC project. The RDC previously created an allocation area for this project in order to help with the financing, part of the TIF project. It went to the Plan Commission. The project has since expanded since this was originally done. And so because of that, they had to start the process over. So at the RDC's last meeting, they again approved a declaratory resolution that establishes the allocation area. At the Plan Commission meeting last Thursday, the Plan Commission also adopted a resolution to approve this allocation area. And now tonight before you is Resolution 9-21, which also requires that you approve the allocation area. This is just the statutory process that is required. This will subsequently, if approved by council tonight, will go back to the RDC for a final approval. And again, this is for the financing portion of the project.
I think this is where NICEPAC had decided that they indeed did want the rest of the property. Comments or questions?
Is this why Chelsea, is this why you're here for questions for this? I've been getting questions. There was a committee appointed for ICEPAC regarding incentives, I think. I forget what you guys call it. There's a 3-person committee. Dean Mayfield.
The Economic Development Commission.
Yeah, they've been contacting me wanting to know when they're going to be used. Is that coming up?
That will be coming up soon. Chelsea Nance, I don't think we've had the pleasure of being here, it's been a while, on behalf of the Redevelopment Commission. So that will be coming up soon. So that has to do with actually issuing of the bonds.
Okay.
So those are Economic Development Commission bonds. I know it gets very confusing between an Economic Development Corporation, a Redevelopment Corporation, and now an Economic Development Commission.
Yes.
But that 3-member committee, I don't have the timeline right in front of me,
Right.
but Attorney Sturwald, who is the Redevelopment Commission's attorney, has created a timeline. I can actually, I'll follow up with Dean and the other members and let them know roughly when those meetings will be, because they are in the next few months.
I think that's John Earhart, Dean Mayfield, and Matt Sainer. Is that correct?
I think, yes, I think that's right.
So you can, if you
Yeah, I'll
wouldn't
follow up with
mind,
them.
just
Yeah.
because they keep asking me.
No, understood. They were appointed to it, and then things changed, and now we're here to do this again because the project scope changed.
Right.
And just to go a little bit further, again, if you'll remember, the original scope of the project, it was roughly 100 acres that the Redevelopment Commission purchased in 19. The original project scope was west of the creek,
Right.
and now they're taking an additional 23 acres east of the creek, roughly 23 acres. So that this expansion of the TIF will now encompass that 23 acres. So that will all be the NICEPAC allocation area.
And they're purchasing that part.
Correct.
What was it, 56,000 an acre?
56.9 an acre.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, that's all I had.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you.
Any other questions? Great. Thanks.
Motion to approve or deny?
I'd make the motion to approve resolution 9-21.
Motion been made, do I have a second? Great. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
The second item I need to bring up under legal is the change order number 2 that I presented at the beginning of this meeting. It's for the Southern Sanitary Improvements Phase 1 project. Again, this is for the new sanitary sewers that are going in near Merriman and Bethel. This is the second change order. The first one decreased the value of the decreased the value of the project by $20,000. This one is an increase of $15,000, but at the last RDC meeting, they approved to accept, Chelsea can probably speak better, 11,000-ish of the cost. They're going to absorb that portion of the cost, so that would leave a remaining about $4,821 for the council to, actually the council has to approve all of it, but you'll be reimbursed the 11,000-ish from the RDC. This is specifically for drilling, I'm told, for the directional drill, because the road had been paved, so now we have to drill in order to get the sewer in. But the blessing in disguise, according to Kent Elliott at Banning, who I spoke with before this meeting, is that they're now putting a casing around this sewer so that if there is an issue with it in the future, they will be able to open it up at the end and pull the drain out, where, as opposed to having to drill into the ground at the location where there's this problem and cause a disruption. So that's kind of a unique surprise that we got out of this situation. So I'm not sure if I made that very clear. This is to prove a change order of $15,000, but again, the RDC is going to reimburse the town for 11,000 something. 11,093? $11,092.
We're still, because of the first change order, we're still under,
You are still under budget, and this is still within your bond, yes.
I'll be disappointed if you don't say it, Shane.
you want me to make the
No,
motion?
I figured you'd say, you lowered it 20,000, I'm raising it 15,000.
You know, but it's only 4,000.
Okay. Motion to accept or deny the change order number 2 for the full amount, knowing that we are only going to be responsible for $4,337 for the casing and jack and bore of the sewer line.
Motion to accept change order number 2.
Motion made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Shane.
Now, we can get a jack and bore for $4,300.
Yeah,
Last one we did was $35,000.
Banning told me that the contractor is absorbing a lot of costs in this.
Yeah.
That prevents them from having to dig a hole in the future. Is it like it's like a case with a cover? Is that what
It's
it's
a
like?
casing in the ground, you thread your carrier pipe through it.
Oh, okay. I see.
But if it's not
Those are
grouted,
this
it's
way,
not,
not this way.
right, if it's not grouted.
Well, she should probably enter it
Sometimes
if
you
you want
do,
to.
sometimes you don't.
No, I don't need
It's
it.
not
I would think
grouted,
Kent would-
replace it.
Kent would need it.
Replace
Yes, and then, and then they'll accept it there. Nothing like that.
Yes,
Did you have anything else? I'll be good.
I have nothing else.
Still under legal, the executive session, we had scheduled one, and then because of the holiday, we did not meet, we did not meet advertising qualifications. We still have that same issue pressing us. And I would need a motion or a comments on whether or not we have another executive session and when we want to have it.
Prior to the next meeting? Same time as what you had scheduled. This is at 5:30, I think you scheduled it.
Is that acceptable? So,
Beth, does that meet the needs of what we're doing?
It can if that's your only availability, but it would certainly help if we did it faster. We did it a little sooner. There's a little urgency with one of the topics, so it would be beneficial to get you together before, if possible, not sooner than 48 hours. But if that's not possible, then that's not possible.
then do we need to roll out of that into a regular meeting to take action?
No.
If it's urgent?
I'm remembering what the,
That's a good point.
yeah, that is
Could make a
what.
decision in an executive, right?
Yeah, you can't, no, you can't take a final action at an executive session. But this is anticipation.
So if you want it earlier, you'd have to do it.
But this is,
Earlier,
I'm
both
trying to think,
meetings, wouldn't you?
I'm trying to think on my feet, but this is done in anticipation of litigation. Like, this is a litigation matter. The one, not the other one, the other one,
Yeah, you can't,
whatever.
yeah, we're gonna need to.
But can you formally accept settlement offers at a public hearing?
Yeah, you have in the past. We can cancel, we can schedule it before and schedule votes and we can schedule an executive coming in right into another and cancel the open meeting if we have to. Yes.
And then let's have but if you, I don't know what your calendars look like. If you could have the executive session sooner and then schedule the public meeting half an hour after it.
Okay. Jeff, you're the one that has to work nights. I mean, where are you at on, as far as after 48 hours from now? Can we do one Monday, Tuesday? Can we?
Yeah, it's fine. 5:30 is fine. I mean,
I'm sorry.
that works for me.
Tuesday, next Tuesday, let's tentatively schedule it for next Tuesday. We can always change it. And then, if needed, we'll schedule a regular meeting immediately following.
A special meeting.
Special meeting immediately following.
So this is
that
for the
acceptable with
26th?
Council?
Yeah, that works for me. Anytime works for me.
Tuesday the
normally about
26th?
8:15 I need to go, but I'm good.
Sorry.
No.
So can I have that in the form of a motion?
So moved.
Executive session next Tuesday at 5:30 with tentatively with a regular or a special session coming out at 6:30, which we can cancel it if we don't have to have it.
That's my motion.
Motion, do I have a second?
What he said.
Jeff, Greg? Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Said that's the 26th, no, what day is that?
Except 26th?
Tuesday is the 26th.
Yes. Today's the 19th.
Can you send her a notice tomorrow to where she can get it to the,
Yes, I'm sending myself email reminders of everything we're doing.
okay, do you have anything else?
I do not.
For the comments from the floor by any chance? Public comment? Motion for approval of payment of claims?
Make a motion, we approve claims in the amount of $480,821.41.
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the council?
You know, I have comments tonight. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. That's no secret. I feel this council uses scare tactics to the public to cost our employees. And I don't like that. It's been proven. We need to get better. I thought we made the turn. I feel we're taking a step backwards. We have to take care of those who take care of us. And it starts right here on this board. I hope it gets better. That's all I have.
Shane?
No comments.
Greg?
I just think it's kind of a bad time to be doling out extra money. I'd rather do it at the end of the race.
We tried to do it at the end of the race. And, didn't work. You know, I know this is your second meeting, third meeting, and you haven't seen our budget, but I've been on this board many years with that man down there too. And we know it, and we can afford it. And he knows it.
Trouble is, there's so much unknowing out there.
Well, again, we're scared. Scare tactics, we need to get away from that.
We need 9. It's still down there
I
somewhere.
just don't buy it.
Yeah, it's just, gotta be kind of frugal.
Justin, do you have anything?
Real quick, I would actually like council's permission to seek a quote for a townwide compensation study. It's just a quote. Talked to Josh Mesmer and former Commissioner Ryan Goodwin on who they used. All I want is a simple quote so we can look at the numbers and then see if it's beneficial to move forward with that.
Just a quote for services?
Just a quote for services.
Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion for you to seek the quote for services? Motion
So,
dies.
hang on, Tom, what exactly is this?
A salary compensation study, so they kind of compare towns and cities to like towns and cities like, you know, Mooresville probably wouldn't compare to Indianapolis, but it may
Right, yeah.
compare to
Apples to apples.
Whitestown, I'm Franklin, something like that.
Yeah. And that's just to get a quote.
It's just to get a quote.
Move to get a quote for the study.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Our next meeting date will be Tuesday, well, our executive session. Per motion, we will have a special session on the 26th at 6:30. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, February 2nd, right here at 6:30. Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, or did somebody already do it?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.